Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to do my second yaoi roundup. This is all digital BL titles that I got through a Humble Bundle. I believe the publisher is Studio Do or Doe, I think it's just D-O. The information will be in the description, so at this point, I'm doing like 5 titles at a time and just reviewing all 5 in one video, since there's just so much manga that came with this Humble Bundle. And so this is the second video. If you haven't seen the first one, you can go back and watch that one as well. I'm currently working on these single volumes. Everything so far has been a self-contained volume, so these 5 are the same as the first video. There's no volume 1s or multiple volumes, it's all self-contained. So the first one is Carrot and Stick by Jugoro Isaka. Now this is the same mangaka that did my favorite out of the last 5, which was A Touch of the Love Bug. So this one is a short story collection. The first one being Carrot and Stick, the title story, which is about Kosaka and Naruse. So Kosaka is the blonde guy. They're both adults. And Kosaka is in trouble at work. He's done something wrong. He's messed up. I think he's cost the company a lot of money. And so there's a guy from a different department who is in a superior position to him, and that's the darker-haired guy, Naruse. They're on this work retreat in the forest, and Kosaka is forced to work during this work retreat instead of relax like everybody else, to make up for his mistake. And Naruse kind of is bringing him food and teasing him a little bit, and he's kind of this brooding, darker man. And then Kosaka gets transferred into Naruse's department, and it's just kind of a really cute dynamic between the two of them, of just, obviously he's the boss and subordinate, but they're both around the same age. And it's just really sweet because you can tell that Naruse has feelings for Kosaka, and sees potential in him that clearly the other bosses and managers just don't. So it was a pretty fun short story. And I just bookmarked all of the so there's a really cute page there, in the first story. So then there were several short stories, the second one being Demanding Cinderella. And this one is this gloomy dude who's got his face covered keeps wanting to hang around with the main guy, who's kind of, I just wrote, all I wrote down was douchey hot guy. Clearly has a bad attitude, and it's just a really kind of mediocre story about the two of them, but the gloomy guy, of course, ends up being hot once his hair is off his eyes. The next story was about a musical busker, and a guy who just doesn't really like the type of music that the busker plays. And the busker is a really positive guy, and the other guy who kind of comes to listen to him is a very negative guy, and it's kind of a cute dynamic between the two of them. The next one is so strange. This is all part of the same volume, by the way. It's just short stories. This one is about a spirit. The long-haired guy is a spirit of a plate that this guy's, I think it's his grandfather or something, or he's a calligraphy student of this master who passed away, and so he inherits the plate, or this particular plate, which this spirit is within, and it's just a kind of supernatural love story. The next one is a very generic story about these two boys on the swim team. They're kind of struggling with their future and where they want to go after high school. It was really, really generic. And then the final story of this volume was His and My Fresh Start, which was, yeah, there's a straight guy who is, he's gone bankrupt. His wife kind of kicks him out or something, and he's struggling, and he ends up spending the night at this gay bartender's house, and then of course they fall for each other. It was quite cute. So most of these were about adults, with the exception of I think 2 of them, which were about high school students, but I liked them. I preferred the volume that I read in the last grouping, because it wasn't a continuous story, and I enjoyed that more. But these were okay. I did like them. The second volume that I read for this grouping is called Daddy's Boyfriend by Luca Yoshino. So this is another short story collection about this man in his 40s, and there's a guy who he works with, I believe, who's in his 20s. They're both kind of, I guess, openly gay as far as I remember, and the dude in his 40s has a kid, and it's him kind of struggling with, this much younger guy being interested in him, and him being like, well, I'm old, and I have got a kid, and whatever. The art is charming. Quite cute. And I do like stories where there's a kid involved, because I like these kind of LGBT stories where there's the kid, and the kid's like, my dad's got a boyfriend, and he wants him to be around, and he's like, where's that guy that cooks good food? And it was really cute. And then the second story is called Room, and it's about these roommates who've known each other since college. One of them is an antique appraiser, and so he leaves the country often, and every time he comes back, there's like months in between them seeing each other, and they kind of, all of the things left unsaid kind of come to the surface at this point, and you can tell that for a long time they've just kind of not been saying what each other is feeling, and they've been roommates, but clearly they both want more, but they don't know how to voice that. And I thought it was a really interesting dynamic, because they're clearly good friends, but they're just not speaking to each other and being honest with each other, and there's so much time in between them seeing each other. It's quite interesting. And then the third story was So You Can Keep Smiling, and this was about 2 cousins, so that's great. Younger cousin moves in with older cousin, because he's going to university, and the older cousin lives near it, and it's like a love triangle, and I'm just like, okay, well, I read it. I don't think I ever need to read that again. And then the next one is called A Thawing Warmth, which is not a great title. And it's about this guy, I believe they're both adults, but I could be wrong. They could also be high school students. This guy's hung up on his ex-girlfriend. This dude's a womanizer. Somehow they get together, and both also, I forgot to mention the last title, as well as every single one of these short stories as well. All of them are explicit. They are censored, though. They have the complete phantom penis situation happening. The next one... What the... I think it's this one. But I could be wrong. The next story is supposed to be, this doesn't look like the right picture, but anyway, the next story is supposed to be about this dorm roommate situation. There's a bunch of guys all living together, and there's a loner who just doesn't feel like he fits in. And so he's, yeah, it might be this one. Anyway, he doesn't fit in, and he's, trying to keep to himself, and all the other guys are like, come hang out with us, and he's just not interested. And then one guy in particular kind of brings him out of his shell. And, all of this stuff is not groundbreaking, but I think it's fun. And I like how varied the stories are. The final one in this grouping of the volume is How My Teacher Loves. And of course, it is a student-teacher relationship. And it's a Japanese literature teacher and a student who's like really engaged in what he's teaching. And of course is interested in him and is making it very clear. So there's a couple titles or short stories in this particular title that people may find taboo or just not comfortable reading, which is fine. I didn't find any of them, like even the cousin one, I was like, okay, like whatever. It wasn't horribly uncomfortable. It just was what it was. Overall, this volume, I think the strongest stories were the one about the parent and the antique appraiser. I thought that one was very well done as well. The third volume I read in this grouping is Canon of Youth by Masato Inoue. This one was really good. Our main story is with these two characters here. We've got Hanada and Yashizaki, I believe, or Yoshizaki. And they're adults in the story, but we do flash back to high school because this is their high school reunion. I don't know if it's like a 10-year reunion, 5-year, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, they're adults. And Hanada used to be a euphonium player, so very into music, but he hasn't played in a very long time, and so he's at this reunion and people are remembering this fact about him, but he doesn't play very well anymore because it's been a really long time. So he's kind of anxious about it. And basically he runs into Yoshizaki, who is now a host at a club, and they kind of rekindle something that may or may not have been going on when they were in high school, and now they're adults, and it's, different and interesting. The dynamic is very cute. I quite enjoyed this one a lot. And then, so there's also a second story happening. I might have... Oh yeah, here's some really cute art. I like the dynamic. I think that, the host popular dude coming back as an adult, and this, dweeby guy who's not confident. I just thought, I thought the art was charming, and the dynamic between the two of them was very entertaining. This is another one that was explicit. So yeah, there's that. Also, Hanada owns a bread factory, which I thought was just an interesting and very weird job for this dude in this yaoi manga to have. And so that was a thing. So the second story is Trumpet of Melancholy, and there was a couple parts to this, so it pretty much was split down the middle between the two different stories happening. This one is set in high school, and this boy here is a trumpet player. His name's Takara. Yes. And then the other boy's name is Kai. And Takara is not confident at all in his trumpet playing. Kai apparently is really good, and he really wants to do a duet with Takara, but he's not interested. He continuously refuses and doesn't believe that he's good enough to be doing that. So the whole thing is just them kind of bringing out confidence in each other, and obviously having feelings for each other. It was really cute. I really enjoyed it. I love music manga, and this one had two different stories. That the first one the guy used to play the euphonium, so it wasn't as focused on music, but clearly this mangaka is interested in music because both of these stories have something to do with music. And yeah, I just really like the character designs. Honestly, I think the wispiness of the hair and the eyes is just really beautifully done. And I really enjoyed this volume. The fourth volume I read, probably my favorite of this grouping, was Cases and Then Some by Chisa Otomi. Again, explicit but censored. This is about Keiji, who's about 36 years old, the darker-haired man there, and his assistant Takato, or Takato. They run a struggling detective agency, which is one of my favorite things. So this follows these two throughout the entire thing, and it is just short, or like each chapter focuses on a different case that they're trying to solve. And so it's a lot about like people wanting them to investigate their cheating spouse or supposed cheating spouse or whatever. They're doing a lot of personal stuff, and a lot of the times it does end up being a client who is gay, or the person they're investigating turns out to be gay. But it's not horribly handled. Like, it's not super, obviously it's a yaoi, it's not like super homophobic or anything. It's literally just like, you know, person comes in and wants them to investigate their partner, or one boy is like, I know my partner's cheating on me and I don't know what to do. And it's actually quite wholesome and sweet in some ways. And I love the dynamic between the two of these men, because you have the owner who is, you know, running the detective agency. It's his place, but then he has his assistant who is just like not impressed with the lack of organization and the fact that like the owner often won't collect the money, or just doesn't acknowledge that they have bills to pay and that they can't just accept jobs from people to be nice. And I look at his face, it's just super adorable. You know, and the owner is like, you know, you're a super talented guy, I don't know why you stick around. And the guy's like, you an idiot, I'm in love with you. Why can't you see this? But yeah, another one that the art was just really charming and the story was so fun. And I love detective stories in general, and like solving mysteries and whatever. So to put it with a really cute BL title, episodic, lovely, great. And the fifth title of this grouping was Baby Maybe by Tatsumi Kaiya. This one is about Shiba, who is the lighter-haired boy who meets Yushima. So Shiba was dating, or not dating, he slept with a guy who happened to be Yushima's best friend, but the best friend was like, I'm not actually interested in you. And so Shiba's like heartbroken, and I think he goes to a mixer or something with at the request of his friend, a different friend, and he meets Yushima there, who then takes him home because he's super drunk, and they end up liking each other. And yeah, so it was cute. I think they're high school students. But yeah, it mostly focused on them. I didn't mind the art. It wasn't horrible. So there was a few chapters focusing on them, and then there was another story, Ultimate Cuteness, which focuses on the friend, who's kind of a playboy. He's sleeping with lots of women, most of them unavailable. They already have partners and whatnot, but then he meets this really adorable first year. So yeah, high school. He meets a really adorable first year who just like captures his attention, and the two of them are really cute together. And what I liked about this was that, you know, that story tied into the other main story. But then there was one separate story that I don't believe tied in, called The Missile of Summer, and it was about this boy whose dad passes away, and he meets his father's partner, but it sounds as though the father was just being nice and he wasn't potentially actually gay. The partner was like, no, I stalked him, and he you know, let me live with him because I told him I was going to kill myself, which is not great. But yeah, that one weird story mixed in, and then it went back to another story about the main couple that was at the beginning. So, I mean, art's cute. It was fine. I actually really liked the side story about the friend meeting the first year the best. I just thought it was really cute. And the first year keeps getting into relationships with much older men, and the dude just keeps like saving him from these older men who won't leave him alone. And it was just weird, but adorable. Yeah, and again, censored but explicit. So that was all the 5 titles that I've read for this time. I don't know when I will read another 5, but you can be sure that you will see many more of these videos because I have so many more titles to get through. I hope you enjoyed and that you're looking forward to more. If you've read any of these titles, love to hear your thoughts. I was going to say if you have any questions about them, but I mean, I went through pretty much everything. BL is pretty standard. Unless you find something absolutely incredibly amazing, it's all pretty much, if you've read it once, you've read a lot of it. Yeah, so anyway, if you have any BL recommendations, maybe that's a good thing. Put those in the comments. Yeah, or what your favorite BL kind of tropes are, because a lot of these short story collections and whatnot will collect all of the tropes. They'll have all of them at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching.